Y'all ready? I can't find what it. I can't stand. I have too much stuff up. Hello, T-Sippers. Come on in. I'm waiting for y'all to come in and hit the like button. As you enter in, whether you come down and speak or you in the bushes, double tap the face of your screen on your phone. Double tap, double tap, double tap. I hit the three dots at the top. The boogeyman will get you. Do, 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 do. The boogeyman will get you. Ooh. Y'all in trouble. Let's go.
Not a name you can drag into court. Not a guest list you can lock down. No faces to parade, no donors to...
Wait, what?
We are anonymous. Not a name you can drag into court. Not a guest list you can lock down. No faces to parade, no donors to please. No party bosses to obey, no permission slips to sign. We do not chase access. We do not trade favors. We watch power the way an investigator watches raw footage frame by frame.
Wait, what?
We are anonymous. Not a name you can drag into court. Not a guest list you can lock down. No faces to parade, no donors to please. No party bosses to obey, no permission slips to sign. We do not chase access. We do not trade favors. We watch power the way an investigator watches raw footage frame by frame, until the moment the story stops adding up and the panic starts bleeding into the open. So welcome back, Occupied Democrats, on a glorious Saturday, because what you are seeing right now is what happens when Donald and Melania weave a tangled web. Act like the web is not there. The trigger is the Epstein file drop yesterday, and the panic starts bleeding into the open. So welcome back, Occupied Democrats, on a glorious Saturday, because what you are seeing right now is what happens when Donald and Melania weave a tangled web. Then act like the web is not there. The trigger is the Epstein file drop yesterday, and the reason it matters is simple. This is not just another headline for people to argue about online. It is a pressure test, and pressure tests do not care about your public relations strategy. They expose the weak points. Here is the question that had been hanging in the air, and the original commentary says it out loud. Was Melania introduced to Jeffrey Epstein? Did she know Epstein? How close were those social circles? That question is radioactive, because it reaches straight into the origin story. The Trump brand tries to sell, and it touches a network of gatekeepers that survives in shadows. That is why the response is not clarity. The response is threats, and this is where the Trumps make the same mistake they always make. They are sue-happy. They treat lawsuits like a weapon. They think a demand letter is a mute button. But the moment you turn a rumor into a legal dispute, you do not just get to intimidate someone into silence. You invite deposition and discovery. You invite sworn testimony. You invite someone to sit across from you and ask the questions you have been dodging, slowly and carefully, with follow-ups, with dates, with names, with receipts. That is the cost of pulling the courtroom lever. The original story you gave me points to a Fox News report, saying a lawyer for the First Lady sent Hunter Biden a letter with a deadline of August 7th demanding he retract statements.
Is he talking
was
too
Melania
fast?
introduced to Jeffrey Epstein? Did she know
That's
Epstein?
not Melania.
How close were those social circles? That question is radioactive, because it reaches straight into the origin story. The Trump brand tries to sell, and it touches a network of gatekeepers that survives in shadows. That is why the response is not clarity. The response is threats, and this is where the Trumps make the same mistake they always make. They are sue-happy. They treat lawsuits like a weapon. They think a demand letter is a mute button. But the moment you turn a rumor into a legal dispute, you do not just get to intimidate someone into silence. You invite deposition and discovery. You invite sworn testimony. You invite someone to sit across from you and ask the questions you have been dodging, slowly and carefully, with follow-ups, with dates, with names, with receipts. That is the cost of pulling the courtroom lever. The original story you gave me points to a Fox News report, saying a lawyer for the First Lady sent Hunter Biden a letter with a deadline of August 7th demanding he retract statements. The letter called the statements false, defamatory, disparaging, and inflammatory. It claimed the First Lady suffered overwhelming financial and reputational harm. That is not a casual complaint. That is a threat designed to force a public retreat. And it is also a gamble, because once you threaten legal action, the other side can say, fine, then let us put everything on the record. The original commentary also says this matches what author Michael Wolff has already said publicly.
Donald Trump's biographer, Michael Wolff, has hinted that Melania Trump may have had deeper connections to Jeffrey Epstein than publicly known. In a podcast interview with the Daily Beast, Wolff claimed Melania was very involved in Epstein's social circles and even implied that her introduction to Donald Trump came through those ties.
And says the president's wife may have suffered, quote, overwhelming financial and reputational harm.
Oh, and there's more of that. She was introduced by a model agent connected to both Trump and Epstein, Wolff said. Epstein knew her well.
Wolff is described as Trump's biographer, and the claim attributed to him is explosive, that Melania may have had deeper connections to Jeffrey Epstein than publicly known. That she was very involved in Epstein's social circles, and that her introduction to Donald Trump came through those ties. The commentary repeats a specific point, that she was introduced by a model agent social circles, and that her introduction to Donald Trump came through those ties. The commentary repeats a specific point, that she was very involved in Epstein's social circles, and that her introduction to Donald Trump came through those ties. The commentary repeats a specific point, that she was very involved in Epstein's social circles, and that her introduction to Donald Trump came through those ties. The commentary repeats a specific point, that she was introduced by a model agent connected to both Trump and Epstein, and that Epstein knew her well. Whether you believe Wolff or not is not the only issue. The bigger issue is that the Trump world did not shut this down with facts. They tried to shut it down with fear, because Donald Trump does what Donald Trump always does. When reality gets too close, he dismisses, he denigrates, he tries to distract, he denies. The original script even describes the attack language used against Wolff, painting him as someone who invents stories from a twisted imagination.
He regularly invents stories from his twisted imagination, driven by an extreme case of Trump derangement syndrome that's clearly affected his mental state.
Driven by an extreme case of Trump derangement syndrome that has affected his mental state. That is the pattern. Attack the critic, not the claim. Make it emotional. Make it loud. Make it messy. If the room is loud enough, maybe nobody hears the question. But then Hunter Biden responds in the most destabilizing way possible for an intimidation machine. When asked if he would apologize, the answer in the original narrative is no. That is not going to happen. Instead, he doubles down and argues Melania does not have a case against him. And then he turns the threat back around.
Said he doubled down on his remarks, contending that Melania Trump does not have a case against him.
If they want to sit down for a deposition and clarify the nature of the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and the president and the first lady want to do that, and all of the known associates around them at the time, of whatever time that they met, I'm more than happy to provide them the platform to be able to do it.
Read that again in plain English. The Trump world tried to scare him into silence. He answered by offering a stage under oath. That is why this becomes dangerous for them. A public argument can be managed. A timeline under oath cannot. In a deposition, you do not get to talk over the question. You do not get to rally a crowd. You do not get to post a distraction and hope everyone moves on. You answer or you refuse, and either way it leaves a mark. Discovery
That haven't been working for him nowhere here lately.
Relationships into public exhibits, and the Trumps have spent their entire careers trying to keep certain relationships safely inside the haze of rumor where they can deny, deflect, and move on. And then the Epstein file drop pushes a new public bloodstream, and the original commentary calls this monstrous for a reason. A picture is worth 1,000 words. The narration says people were already focused on the idea of a model agent connected to both Trump and Epstein. Then suddenly you get a new collision point. The director of Melania's documentary, Brett Ratner, the breaking item described in your original text, says Vanity Fair reported late Friday that Brett Ratner, the director of Melania, the new documentary about First Lady Melania Trump, was spotted in the Justice Department's Friday release of thousands of files on Jeffrey Epstein. It says internet sleuths were quick to identify
Jeffrey Epstein as the president and the first lady want to do that, and all of the known associates around them at the time, of whatever time that they met. I'm more than happy to provide them the platform to be able to do it.
Read that again in plain English. The Trump world tried to scare him into silence. He answered by offering a stage under oath. That is why this becomes dangerous for them. A public argument can be managed. A timeline under oath cannot. In a deposition, you do not get to talk over the question. You do not get to rally a crowd. You do not get to post a distraction and hope everyone moves on. You answer or you refuse, and either way it leaves a mark. Discovery is a machine that turns private relationships into public exhibits, and the Trumps have spent their entire careers trying to keep certain relationships safely inside the haze of rumor where they can deny, deflect, and move on. And then the Epstein file drop pushes a new image into the public bloodstream, and the original commentary calls this monstrous for a reason. A picture is worth 1,000 words. The narration says people were already focused on the idea of a model agent connected to both Trump and Epstein. Then suddenly you get a new collision point. The director of Melania's documentary, Brett Ratner, the breaking item described in your original text, says Vanity Fair reported late Friday that Brett Ratner, the director of Melania, the new documentary about First Lady Melania Trump, was spotted in the Justice Department's Friday release of thousands of files on Jeffrey Epstein. It says internet sleuths were quick to identify Ratner in an updated photograph with a shirtless man who appears to be Jean-Luc Brunel, a French model scout and owner of the international modeling agency MC2 Model Management, described as having considerable financial backing from Epstein. Then the original story lays out the grim context. Brunel died by apparent suicide in 2022 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. Epstein died in 2019. We are not doing spectacle here. We are describing the facts used in the commentary to show why this is not normal celebrity gossip. It is a network tied to serious criminal allegations and long-running exploitation, and names like these do not disappear just because someone sends a legal threat. And Ratner is not a neutral figure in the entertainment world either. The original script says he made his directorial debut in the 1990s with Money Talks and went on to direct the popular Rush Hour films. It says he was ousted from Hollywood in 2018 amid sexual misconduct allegations. It says he moved to Israel in 2023. It then says he is set to direct Rush Hour 4 after the project was greenlit by Paramount and after President Donald Trump. The original script says he made his directorial debut in the 1990s with Money Talks and went on to direct the popular Rush Hour films. It says he was ousted from Hollywood in 2018 amid sexual misconduct and a legal threat. And Ratner is not a neutral figure in the entertainment world either. The original script says he made his directorial debut in the 1990s with Money Talks and went on to direct the popular Rush Hour films. So he moved to Israel. It says he was ousted from Hollywood in 2018 amid sexual misconduct allegations.
Here we go again.
It says he moved to Israel in 2023. It then says he is set to direct Rush Hour 4 after the project was greenlit by Paramount and after President Donald Trump lobbied for the studio to take up Ratner's project. And it says Ratner was selected to direct Melania, set for release in select theaters on January 30th, 2026,
Predator.
with the film announced in January 2025, which the commentary interprets as a sign Ratner was still held in high regard among the Trumps, reinforced by Trump pushing for Ratner's other project. Then the narration adds the industry consequence that a major studio cut ties with Ratner in 2018 and did not renew a large financing deal after multiple women accused him of sexual misconduct. The point of including that detail was not to litigate those claims inside a YouTube script. The point was to highlight the judgment call. Of all people, the Trumps chose him to shape the public image of the First Lady. And now that choice is colliding with Epstein file imagery and a modeling world figure people associate with Epstein's pipeline. That is why the original voice drops the line. Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
You got
because
some
it is not one
splaining to
coincidence.
do.
It is multiple decisions, multiple associations, multiple overlapping circles suddenly visible at the same time, right when the Trump world is trying to shut down questions with legal threats. And here is the brutal irony. If the goal was to protect Melania's reputation, threatening massive litigation over Epstein-related remarks does the opposite. It amplifies the
Did she get her
story.
nose
It signals
done
to
or
the
something?
public. If the goal was to protect Melania's reputation, threatening massive litigation over Epstein-related remarks does
That's
the
not
opposite.
Melania.
It amplifies the story. It signals to the public this is the subject that makes us panic. It signals to journalists, dig here. It signals to everyone watching zoom in. Because people are not stupid. They understand incentives. They understand what powerful families try to bury. And they understand that silence is rarely demanded about something harmless. The original narration closes with a conclusion that matters because it is not a courtroom verdict. It is an observation about behavior. It says Melania is not going forward with the suit against Hunter Biden, and that might be a little telling about where the truth actually sits. It adds a cautious line people like to say, where there is smoke, there is not necessarily fire, but it sure feels like they are getting closer to a smoking gun. That is the takeaway. Not that every claim is proven, but that the Trump machine is walking toward a process that punishes secrecy. Lawsuits force timelines. Discovery forces documents. Depositions force clarity. And the Epstein file release forces the public to look again at the ecosystem around Epstein, including photos, names, and networks people would rather you forget. So stay frosty, like and share the video. Have a good weekend. And keep your eyes on what they threaten, what they file, and what they suddenly decide not to pursue, because powerful people do not back away from a fight when they are confident the record will protect them. Smoking gun. That is the takeaway. Not that it be a little telling about where the truth actually sits. It adds a cautious line people like to say, where there is smoke, there is not necessarily fire, but it sure feels like they are getting closer to a smoking gun. That is the takeaway. Not that every claim is proven, but that the Trump machine is walking toward a process that punishes secrecy. Lawsuits force time.
Was his lips sideways? Were they slanted? Are them lips slanted? Are they leaning on the everlasting? Leaning. Are they slanted? They look like they going down the hill, don't they? Okay, carry on. Can y'all hear me? Can I get a 1? Can I get a 1 or 2? 1, you can hear me. 2, you can't. Can I get a 1 if you can hear me? A 2 if you can't? I just double tap the face of your screen. Say, I can hear you. I may be buffing. Am I buffing? Oh, okay, there you go.
It adds a cautious line people like to say, where there is smoke, there is not necessarily fire.
Thank you.
But it sure feels like they are getting closer to a smoking gun. That is the takeaway. Not that every claim is proven, but that the Trump machine is walking toward a process that punishes secrecy. Lawsuits force timelines. Discovery forces documents. Depositions force clarity. And the Epstein file release forces the public to look again at the ecosystem around Epstein, including photos, names, and networks people would rather you forget. So stay frosty, like and share the video. Have a good weekend, and keep your eyes on what they threaten, what they file, and what they suddenly decide not to pursue, because powerful people do not back away from a fight when they are confident the record will protect
They
them.
sure don't. And Bill Clinton said he ain't running from he ain't running. He ain't running. And so you can kiss Bubba again if you want to. Oh, you got one on Erica Kirk too? What you saying about her? Let's go.
We are anonymous. Not a name you can corner, not a face you can pressure, not a number you can call to make a problem disappear. No donors to trace, no party bosses to answer to, no permission slips to revoke. We do not chase access and we do not trade favors. We watch power, the way an investigator watches surveillance, frame by frame until the performance slips and the truth leaks through. And today
Until
the
the
leak is loud,
performance
because
leaks.
Erica Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk, and now one of the
She
most
did slip
elevated
up.
symbols in the mega universe outside of Donald
She had
Trump, is
Drifter
trending
on
for
her
all the wrong
mind.
reasons. Not because she was attacked by critics, not because the media is unfair, but because she did something on stage that stunned the very crowd built to cheer her.
Yep.
And for 1 second, the mask named the thing everyone has been thinking. The story starts with the setting.
Point organization is hosting the annual MEMPHIS this weekend. It's part fireworks-infused revival and part MAGA influencer convention.
The Kirk's Turning Point organization is hosting its big annual event this weekend, described like a fireworks-soaked revival mixed with a MAGA influence. The thing everyone has been thinking. The story starts with the setting.
Point organization is hosting the annual MEMPHIS this weekend. It's part fireworks-infused revival and part MAGA influencer convention.
The Kirk's Turning Point organization is hosting its big annual event this weekend, described like a fireworks-soaked revival mixed with a MAGA influencer convention. And the atmosphere is not normal. It is not just speeches and flags and merch tables. It is spectacle. The kind of spectacle that tries to turn politics into a lifestyle brand and grief into a product. The original commentary even points to something so surreal it sounds like satire until you realize it is real. Attendees taking selfies under a replica of the tent where Charlie
Isn't that
Kirk
horrible?
lost his life.
And you can see from behind me, this is a recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life at Utah University in September. And
That
people
is
are
horrible.
taking selfies with it.
A recreation, a photo op, people smiling in front of a place.
Smiling where Charlie
University,
was assassinated.
in September. And
Oh,
people
I wonder how Candace feel
a
about that.
recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life at Utah University in September. And people are taking selfies with it.
A recreation.
A recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life
How
at Utah University
disrespectful.
in September, and people are taking selfies
But
with
Erica
it.
signed off
recreation,
on that.
a photo op, people smiling in front of a place that is supposed to represent tragedy. A room that should have been quiet turned into content. Then the commentary pivots to the one word that keeps following Erica Kirk like a shadow. Grifter. It is a heavy accusation, and the original narrator does not whisper it. The narration says it bluntly. She is a grifter. Look at the costume changes. Look at the performance. Look at how
She was a Trump girl first.
Then the commentary pivots to the one word that keeps following Erica Kirk like a shadow. Grifter. It is a heavy accusation, and the original narrator does not whisper it. The narration says it bluntly. She is a grifter. Look at the costume changes. Look at the performance. Look at how intentional it feels. It calls it the weaponization of gender. It does not whisper it. The narration says it bluntly. She is a grifter. Look at the costume changes. Look at the performance. Look at how intentional it feels. It calls it the weaponization of gender and faith. It is harsh and it is designed to provoke. But the point is not just the insult. The point is the pattern. Because the original story lists the pattern like a receipt trail. In the last 3 months, Erica has reportedly been everywhere. Fox News, Hannity, The Five, Fox and Friends, Outnumbered, Megyn Kelly.
Everyone grifts differently, as they say. Erica Kirk has been on more press stops in the last 3 months than most celebrities manage in a year. Fox News, Hannity, The Five, Fox and Friends, Outnumbered, Megyn Kelly, the New York Times Deal Book Summit, a $10,000 a plate fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago, and a 100,000 person memorial 11 days after her husband died. A book tour, a CEO announcement 8 days after his death. And the immediate assumption is this has got to be about money. She's cashing in, which sure, monetizing her late husband's death. She saw an opportunity and she took it. Sure, the money is definitely real. The fundraising and the book sales are also real. But if you think this is just about money, you're missing the actual story. What Erica Kirk is doing is not just building wealth. She is building something way more dangerous. We knew Kirk's death was the uncorking of a new level of political violence, but we did not expect this. We did not expect what she would do with this. And real quick, I am Lauren Paritra. The only way we counter voices like hers and his and the grift is to make sure better voices are getting heard. For somebody whose whole message is that women should just be at home with their children, making more children, she sure spends a whole lot of time not being home with her own children. And can we talk about the constant looking up to the sky thing? Every interview, every speech, her and her little raccoon eyes, tilts her head back like Charlie's about to parachute down from heaven.
The New York Times Deal Book Summit. A $10,000 a plate fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago. A massive memorial 11 days after her husband died. A book tour. A CEO announcement 8 days after his death. The commentary says the obvious assumption is money. That grief is being monetized. Fundraising and book sales are real. But then it makes the bigger claim. If you think this is just about money, you are missing what is actually being built. Because what is being built is power. Movements like this always need a new face when the old one disappears. And Erica fits the role in a way the movement can use. She is not just a speaker. She is a symbol. The holy widow. The grieving believer. The gentle messenger
She
who
got
makes
that.
something
She
hard
got
and
that
extreme.
thing going on, y'all.
She is a symbol.
She got that thing going on. Like a Bondi. She got that. She got that. She got that. Whatever that is. Y'all, I need for y'all to double tap the face of y'all. That don't look like her. Double tap the face of your phone if you're listening in on your phone device. I'm 31 minutes in, 170 people in here with 17 likes. That's not going to work. So let's double tap. If you're on your phone, or hit those 3 dots at the top right corner. Come on. Oh my God. They got pictures of a baby on the piano. Did we see a piano in Epstein's house? Did we see a piano? She's the CEO. She's the CEO. So they say. I don't know. She gonna be vice president, the wife, since she's promoting Vance in 2028. So she say.
Built is power. Movements like this always need a new face when the old one disappears. And Erica fits the role in a way the movement can use. She is not just a speaker. She is a symbol. The holy widow. The grieving believer. The gentle messenger who makes something hard and extreme feel soft and safe. That is what the original commentary argues, and it is why people watch her so closely. Not because she is just another influencer, but because she can sanitize a harsh ideology with perfectly timed tears and God language, and suddenly the same politics look nurturing instead of dangerous. One commentator in the original script, Lauren Paritra, highlights the hypocrisy angle with a sharp observation. For someone whose message is that women should be home with their children making more children, she spends a whole lot of time not being home with her own children. The same voice points out the repeated stage mannerisms, the looking up to the sky in every interview like heaven is part of the lighting design. It calls it weird, not in a petty way, in a pattern recognition way. Because when grief becomes a routine performance, it stops reading like mourning and starts reading like branding. And then comes the moment that makes this whole story explode. She is speaking to the crowd at the big event, and she's trying to say something uplifting about persistence.
That's not her.
She references, despite the devastating loss of Charlie Kirk.
That's not her either.
Despite the devastating loss of Charlie Kirk, my incredible husband at UVU, Caleb has persisted with the same grift, excuse me, gift. Grit. It has been a long day. Trust me, you're not a grifter, honey. It's all good.
She praises a student named Caleb. She tries to say the student persisted with the same grit, but her mouth chooses a different word first. The word that has been chasing her online. The word her critics keep shouting. She says grift, on stage, into the microphone, in front of a room built to protect her. There is an instant pause. The crowd reacts. You can hear the shock. You can hear the confusion. And she tries to correct it mid-sentence. She stumbles through it, moving from grift to gift to grit. And then she laughs it off with "It has been a long day." Someone on stage tries to reassure her.
She has a
basically
couple
saying,
of
"You are not a
them
grifter,
faces
it is
too.
all
That's not
good."
her either.
But the damage is not the stumble. The damage is the reveal. Because a slip like that does not come from nowhere. It comes from a mind that has been living with that accusation. It means the word is in the room with her, even when she is trying to speak about faith and legacy. And it means she knows on some level what people are seeing.
Is a grifter, and just look at the costume changes. Look at the costume changes. Look at the affect and how she does that. It's wild. This woman should be kicked to the curb. She is an absolute grifter, just like Donald Trump and just like her unrepentant, racist, homophobic husband was. This is intentional weaponization of her gender and her faith.
That her grief tour is not being received.
Keeps following Erica Kirk on a sparkly tour of grief.
As pure devotion by everyone watching. And this is where the criticism sharpens, because the story is not asking you to laugh at a mistake. It is asking you to look at the mechanics of a movement that turns
Be kicked to the curb. She is an absolute grifter, just like Donald Trump and just like her unrepentant, racist, homophobic husband was. This is intentional weaponization of her gender and her faith.
that her grief tour is not being.
Now, is this her? This I promise this looked like Tammy Faye Baker. When her husband got caught doing whatever it was he got caught doing. And baby, this right here is that all. No baby, no baby. Tears don't do that. Tears don't do that. Nope. That's not how tears go. That's some type of glitter all. Fake tears, baby, but this up here, oh, and this lip, is this her? is this, y'all, Lord, what in the world is this? Who is this? Who? What? Is this a clown? What? So somebody drew her a face. Is this? Now I know I just moved it a second. Did the tears go away? Did the awe go away? What happened to the awe? Hold up. Where did the awe go? Let me catch the awe.
That her grief tour
Okay, so ain't nothing here, right? Okay.
is not being received.
Keeps following Erica Kirk on a sparkly tour of grief.
As pure devotion by everyone.
Erica Kirk on a sparkly tour.
Did one of the little sparkles?
Gender and her faith.
That her grief tour is not being received.
Did she know she made that face, y'all?
And her faith.
Do she know she made that?
Oh. Is not.
So she done moved her hand, right? She done already wiped. Something fell. Wow, girl. I just didn't know.
being
Thank you, Max, for the floating hearts. Thank you, Queen. What, baby?
received.
Oh wow.
Keeps following Erica Kirk on a sparkly tour of grief.
Has pure
Wow.
devotion by everyone watching. And this is where the criticism sharpens, because the story is not asking you to laugh at a mistake. It is asking you to look at the mechanics of a movement that turns everything into a transaction. In that world, even tragedy becomes a funnel.
Wow.
Attention, then loyalty, then donations, then influence, then access to the next rung of power. That is why the original script says if you only see money, you are missing the real story. The real story is that the death of Charlie Kirk is being used as a launching
Thank you,
platform
Miss
for a new
Tom.
kind of political influence, one wrapped in soft lighting and religious language.
Oh, there go his dad,
Devotion
Big
by
Daddy.
everyone watching. And this is where the criticism sharpens, because the story is not
that's-
asking you to laugh
that's
at a
who
mistake.
gave the green light
It is
on it.
asking you to look at the mechanics of a movement that turns everything into a transaction. In that world, even tragedy becomes a funnel. Attention, then loyalty, then donations, then influence, then access to the next rung of power. That is why the original script says if you only see money, you are missing the real story. The real story is that the death of Charlie Kirk is being used as a launching platform for a new kind of political influence, one wrapped in soft lighting and religious language, but still serving the same machine. And if you want to understand why
What's
this
on
feels
his
so
eyes?
disturbing to
Hold
people
up,
outside
hold
the
up,
bubble,
hold up.
look back at that replica
Did that
tent. Look
reptilian
at what it
pop out? What was
symbolizes.
that?
And religious language, but still.
What's what? Y'all know they got me looking all in folk eyes and stuff now with these reptilians or ratatouilles. Hey, Duke. Hey, what was that? Hey, Naturally Nolans, did I go in her eyes to make a... That's his skin giving up hope. What in the world?
One wrapped in soft lighting and religious language, but
It's the whoever did this video, they did that right. You know, he too young for all of that. He knew Trump was betraying him. What in the world going on with his eyes?
still serving the same machine. And if you want
Machine. Oh Lord, here we go. Oh
to
Lord.
understand why this feels so disturbing to people
Oh, my
outside the
God.
bubble, look back at that replica tent. Look at what it symbolizes.
Oh, yeah, that
A
replica.
movement so
I
obsessed
thought he was
with
going to say
content and
reptilian.
spectacle that it transforms a place of death into a selfie station. A movement that can sell you a feeling.
Now that was fire though.
Next rung of power. That is why the original script says if you only see money, you are missing the real story. The real story is that the death of Charlie Kirk is being used as a launching platform for a new kind of political influence, one wrapped in soft lighting and religious language, but still serving the same machine. And if you want to understand why this feels so disturbing to people outside the bubble, look back at that replica tent. Look at what it symbolizes. A movement so obsessed with content and spectacle that it transforms a place of death into a selfie station. A movement that can sell you a
Yeah,
feeling.
how do y'all feel about that? That at this convention with Erica Kirk's approval, they have a replica tent of his passing. Where is that at? I don't think I like that. For Photoshop. I'm sorry, for photo op. How do we feel about that? Is that trifling? Or is that just making money off of his
Realizing
death?
Israel, attendees taking selfies under a replica of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life.
And you can see from behind me, this is a recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life at Utah University.
Is that trifling? Or is that a good opportunity to make money off his death? I mean, what is that? why would you have a recreation of where he lost his life and bring it to a convention for photo ops? Is that not mocking his death?
Where Charlie Kirk lost his
I mean, because people lost, and I'm saying this really, I'm not joking this time, because real people lost their jobs for having a comment, you know, for saying something that I guess they deemed as I mean, I don't know what word they deemed it as, mean, ugly, anti-Semitic. I mean, because somebody repeated some of the stuff that he said. Yeah, I mean, so is this not trifling? Would this not, I mean, what is that? I ain't never seen none of us do nothing like that, have we? No, I don't think so.
life.
That's kind of like saying at the Mo3 day they have a concoction bill like it's on the freeway where Mo3 was gunned down, or at ADOLPH day, you know, they have a little photo op, you know, structure build up like it's a cookie spot where people to come up and, you know, who does that? It's supposed to have been traumatic. I mean, yeah, I mean, people lost their job for having comments about him or the things that he said, just repeating the foul crap that came out of his mouth. They lost their jobs, and now it's okay for them to recreate his death. You know, I mean, I'm speechless, but they should have had a little dummy, a little dog, built, sitting on the stoop, leaned over to the side, you know, with what is those tubes coming up his t-shirt, you know, to make it seem like blood was shooting out. I mean, if he really did lose his life, I think he went down to that tunnel thing, and they just switched people. We don't know what happened. His homeboy said, hell, he was dead in the car. Now they saying he died in the hospital. I mean, we really just don't know, do we? But let me move on. I just think this is really, really trifling.
This is a recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life at Utah University in September, and people are taking selfies with it.
A recreation.
Yeah, no, that's a no for me. Let me move on back up here so we can go to something else.
Used as a launching platform for a new kind of political influence, one wrapped in soft lighting and religious language, but still serving the same machine. And if you want to understand why this feels so disturbing to people outside the bubble, look back at that replica tent. Look at what it symbolizes. A movement so obsessed with content and spectacle that it transforms a place of death into a selfie station. A movement that can sell you a feeling, sell you a shirt, sell you a narrative, sell you unity, and then move you straight into the next rally, the next fundraiser, the next campaign.
Dude, what do you do this
here's
time?
where we aim the lens at Charlie Kirk himself, because you asked for criticism and you deserve clarity. The ideology he helped popularize did not just happen, it was engineered. Turning Point style politics is built on outrage.
To take a picture, I wonder how much that picture cost.
It is built on turning
I hadn't
education
seen
into
rainwater.
suspicion, journalism into treason, and democracy into a team sport where the goal is domination.
In all fairness, they say, oh boy, home, you may need to do a wellness check. Make sure he all right. Make sure he all right. And do a wellness check.
Governance. That is why political violence keeps rising around this ecosystem. When you train people to see opponents as existential enemies, you eventually get someone who stops hearing metaphor and starts hearing permission. So when the original commentary calls Charlie an unrepentant racist and homophobic figure, that is a moral indictment from that narrator, and it reflects how many critics view the movement he represented. Whether every label fits is not the point of the analysis. The point is that the movement has long trafficked in demonization, and demonization always has consequences, even if the leaders pretend they're just doing entertainment. And now Erica Kirk is positioned as the emotional shield for that same movement. That is the key.
Y'all make sure y'all check out the Mo3 sector this week. Mo3's bodyguard, the boogeyman, you know, he played both sides, so he out of prison. Yeah, folk running scared. They don't put bodies on them and stuff. Y'all check out King. Oh, that's King of Kapala. Oh, okay. King Kapala, you got a page. Check out Duke. I saw Duke in there. Duke, you need to go do a wellness check. Y'all, Mo3, go do a wellness check on Rainwater. Oh, girl done sprung the boogeyman out. Make sure he all right.
Dear, in the final clip, the original script shares from an influencer who says something brutally simple. When public grief starts looking like an advertisement, that is not faith, that is branding. She argues Erica is not being objectified. She is participating, turning devotion into influence, wrapping white Christian nationalism in soft femininity and carefully timed tears. She says Erica appears alongside powerful men not by accident, but because she makes their ideology look acceptable. She becomes the face that makes extremism look gentle. That analysis matters because it explains why the word grift hit the room like a thrown object. It was not just a joke. It was a crack in the...
Okay, y'all. My battery's finna go. Let me shift gears so we can hear this Ghislaine Maxwell. Let me shift gears so we can hear. Y'all ready to hear the next part of this? Yeah. She is campaigning for J.D. Vance to be the next president of 2028. She said that's what Charlie was supposed to be, and now he gone because he